So guys, here is a special invitation for Investival, which is an investors conclave, which is going to happen in Bangalore in the month of April from 28th to 30th. This is a 3-day event, which will be a residential event. This is been happening, will happen in Taj Yeshwanthpur, Bangalore. Hi, hello friends. Good evening. Welcome everyone to Nifty Banker, India's first retail index traders online conference. I'm Fazil Ahmed, Director of Education and Events at Traders Gurukul, and also the host for today's event. It's a great pleasure to invite every one of you to the third edition of this Nifty Banker webinar series. I'm sure by the end of this program, you'll have a lot of knowledge which can help you to make better decisions in your trading life. Let me also like to thank our media partner Money Control Pro, the largest financial portal in India with millions of daily readership on their website. They have helped us to reach a wider audience in a short span of time. The speaker for today is Quazi Farooque Azam. Quazi Farooque Azam is the founder of Quazi Financial Services. He has 5 years of experience in trading. He actively trades in equity as well as derivative markets from the last 5 years. He's a swing cash trades and also he's a rule-based in intraday index trading. Besides trading, he is also working as a mutual fund distributor as well as an insurance advisor. He will empower us today with his special topic called Nifty Camarilla Trading Setup. Mr. Quazi, on behalf of Traders Gurukul and Money Control Pro, I extend my warm welcome into our program as an elite speaker. Go ahead, Quazi, the stage is yours.
Thanks a lot, Fazil bhai, and good evening and welcome everybody in this session. And thanks to Traders Gurukul team and Money Control Pro team for having this session. So, guys, as Fazil bhai has already said, myself Quazi Farooque Azam, and I am a founder of Horizon Financial Services. Actually, the name Horizon Financial Services is just So, I'm founder of Horizon Financial Services, and today I'm gonna teach you. I'm gonna show you the setup, that Camarilla trading setup for Nifty. So, let me tell you something about myself. So, as Fazil bhai told, that I'm founder of Horizon Financial Services, and I have experience of around 5 years in trading. I mostly do cash trading, and apart from that, I have a rule-based intraday trading setup, which I normally use. And apart from that, I'm a mutual fund distributor working from last 4 and 5 years around with the AUM of around 2 crore. And apart from that, I'm also an insurance advisor. So these all things about me. And another thing, I'm a CA dropout, but having a few certificates of an ISM as well. So let's start the session. I hope I'm audible. So, okay, I'm starting the session. So what is pivot point? Everybody, you all those who have joined here, everybody knows about pivot point. Pivot point means that it has some resistance and support levels. Everybody have learned or knew about pivot line and pivot point. So let me give some the introductory part of pivot points. Pivot points, actually, it is a level or point which used to determine for resistance and support of a chart. Means pivot point shows you the resistance and support as well of a chart in any time frame, whether it's intraday or 15 minutes time frame or weekly time frame or monthly time frame. And it is actually calculated on the basis of previous days or weeks or months open, high, low, and close. It is actually a mathematical calculation which is being used to calculate about pivot point from open, high, and low of the previous day's chart, previous day's Nifty or any kind of stock chart. So there are few pivot points we normally used in technical analysis, like standard pivot, Many of you have known about it, standard pivot. Then there is Fibonacci pivot. Then there is Camarilla pivot, and that is Woody pivot. So rest of the three are other kind of pivot which people use. I mostly use Camarilla pivot, so I'll talk about Camarilla pivot only. So there is a setup for me in Camarilla Nifty setup which I use for Nifty only, basically because I have done back testing a lot back testing for Nifty setup, and I got this Camarilla Nifty setup. So for intraday trading, I mostly use this setup for intraday trading. For intraday trading, you have to remember some points like the chart time frame should be of 15 minutes, not more than that. For intraday setup, 15 minutes chart is enough to use to take trades. I hope so. So there are two indicators which I use for this trading setup. Actually, there are many kind of technical indicators public use, people use, but I have put it in very simple way. I don't use any other thing, just simple pivot points level. I used to take trades just after using this only these two type of pivot, means support pivot and resistance pivot levels. I only use these two things and nothing else. So I'll show the chart as well. So let's talk about something about the setup. So there are two indicators I use. One is Camarilla pivot, which is defined by a developer. I'll show you in the trading view chart. And the second is Camarilla 5 and 6. There are few levels of pivot lines like H1, L1, H2, L2. So these are the levels. So I'll tell you later on. Uh, these are the points to remember. I'll tell you later on. So let's use the use of Camarilla pivot. So for this setup, we must use Camarilla pivot by Ian Carson. There are many pivot lines you can find out in Camarilla pivot lines you can find out in TradingView chart. But the perfect one, which you don't need to go anywhere else, you don't need to calculate anything. This is developed by Ian Carson. I'll show you. In this setting, we use pivot resolution of daily time frame. I'll show you in TradingView chart as well. Just it's a theoretical part. I'm just telling you about the setups and everything. There are mostly around 13 pivot lines which is being used for Camarilla, but we use only around H3, H4, H5, L3, L4, L5, and L6 and H6. These are the pivot lines. H shows the resistance level. L is for support level. If you have already seen in standard pivot and any other pivot kind of pivot lines, you see that there are lines called R1, S2, S1, R3, S3. Those are R for resistance, S for support. But in this Camarilla pivot, you'll find out H and L. So H1, H2, H3, L1, L2, L3, L4. I'll show you how it is done. So these only 6 or 7 are used, the pivot lines. Rest all pivot I will remove. H I told you already, it is for resistance. L is for support. Okay. So type of setup. I'm just right now I'm telling you about the setup theoretical part. Then slowly I'll show you the chart as well to confirm everything. Uh, okay, let me show you chart as well. Leave this page. I'll show you chart. This is our trading view chart. I hope you all can see this screen. Let me remove everything. This is trading view chart, Nifty futures chart we use. This is 15 minutes time frame. 15 minutes time frame I'm using. So as I said to you all that I use only Camarilla pivot line, nothing else, no VWAP, no any not any this thing super trend or moving average, nothing, just price based, just resistance and support based. So for that we have to check, we have to find out Camarilla pivot. It is free for everyone, no need to take the premium service or anything. It is already in the indicator line. So this is Camarilla pivot by Ian Carson. Put it here. As I told you, so as I told you, we have to use H3, H4, H5, H6, L3, L4, L5, and L6. Rest we have to remove. Here it comes. Camarilla indicators. For input pivot resolution, as I told you, we have to put only daily time frame, not weekly, not monthly. For style, I told you that we have to use H3, H2. These central H1 and H2, actually they are H2 and L2. Actually, it's central and H1 and L1. You must have learned somewhere or heard somewhere that CPR. So CPR is the narrow part of Camarilla. Camarilla is a broad version. CPR is the narrow part. In CPR, we only use three pivot lines. That's the center one and the H1 and the L1. But in Camarilla, we use more than that. So I'm just using the simple H5, H4, H3. Please, everyone, you can note it down as well. So, and for lower side, for the support side, L3, L4, L5. This H5, H4, H3. Done. This is my setup. So this is pivot line. You can see that the green part is H3 and L3 green pivot line, and the purple one is H4 and this thing is L4, and the red one H5 and this L5. So currently I'll show you this six pivot line only. Later on I'll tell you about how I use H5, H6 and L6 as well. So just a basic thing, you guys know about it, like H1, H3, H4 and H5, how I use it. So let's go forward. I told you this thing, type of setup, how I take trade. I'll tell you the three setup which I use to take trade with the help of Camarilla Pivot. I use three setups. First is breakout setup, which means where the market is trying to break a nearby resistance or support. Take an example. If Nifty is facing a resistance of around 18,100 on intraday level, and chart and candle is trying to break it. So when it breaks that particular resistance level, then we'll take a entry for this breakout setup. Whether it is breakout, whether you can say breakout or breakdown in support. In supporting in short direction, it is called breakdown, and for long direction, it is called breakout. Then the second is super breakout setup. After breaking out the first resistance level or support level, Nifty tries to break the market or break the another resistance level. Nifty or market doesn't have a single resistance level or a single support level. There must be one or more, one or two or three kind of steps for the breakout. So the second is super breakout setup. For this setup, I'll tell you later how I put the another pivot lines for this for super breakout. Right now, I'm telling you just about breakout setup. And the third is reversal setup. Reversal means if Nifty is Nifty or any chart, I can say right now I'm telling about Nifty, so I'm saying Nifty. So for reversal setup, if Nifty is trying to respect any particular support or resistance, suppose which I gave an example that resistance is 18,100, Nifty tells that, the candle tells that, and then it's respecting that resistance level, it is not breaking out, so it will reverse from that resistance. You guys are in market, so you must have known about resistance and support, how it works. So it is like that. We get a resistance pivot line. If Nifty is not crossing that resistance pivot line, then it will reverse from that. So we'll take a reversal trade for that reverse setup. So these are three setups which I'm gonna use it. Let me talk about more the breakout setup. First of all, the breakout setup, I'm gonna tell you how it works. I hope you guys have understood everything till now. I'll explain it later as well, another part as well. So the breakout setup for long, I'm going for long, like bullish setup, bullish breakout setup, how it works. I have told you that there are pivot lines, these called H. H is for resistance. So when you are going for a long trade, you have to check whether the candle, whether the price is breaking the resistance level or not. So pivot helps you finding out a resistance and how it breaks and how you take entry. That Camarilla setup helps you out. So wherever in 15-minute start time frame, candle open below below H4. H4 I told you the purple line. I hope you remember. I'll show you the chart as well after this screen. So when a candle open below H4 pivot, that the purple one, and closes sorry and closes above H4, then it will be called a valid setup for us to take a valid entry. So for valid entry, actually I used to take a buffer point of 5 points buffer point. Suppose the candle is breaking out and that candle high is 18,200. So I'll take entry, I'll punch an order at 18,205 to take trade. And the target for that will be the next pivot. Let me show you. See, sorry. Yeah, I'm just taking example. I'm just showing you. Today we didn't got this setup, a trade on this setup, but the chart is open. So I'll just giving you an example. See this one. This is H4 pivot line, which means Nifty is facing a resistance level, and for to give an entry, it must the candle must that candle must break this resistance level, this resistance pivot line. So if you see Nifty opens uh, above this H4 candle in this in this candle at 9:15, the opening is 18,210. But if you can see the levels, the H4 is at 18,204. You can see the H4 is at 18,204 around. So it's not a valid candle for us because the candle is opening at the higher of H4 and closing below the H4. This is not a valid candle. Next candle we'll watch at 9:30 candle. 9:30 candle opens below H4. It's open below H4. Okay, fine. It is valid as per our breakout setup for long breakout setup. The candle is open below H4 and now going above H4, crossing the H4 pivot and closes above H4 pivot. This is closing above H4 pivot. Fine. This is the close. This is the close, which means this candle is giving a proper valid trade for us. Okay, fine.